for Facebook. Jackie Heinrich joins us live from the North Lawn with the serious concerns over this, what appears to be, Jackie, censorship, right?
Well, good morning, Steve, Ainsley, and Lawrence. The White House says that it is cracking down on misinformation because that is what is keeping people from getting vaccinated. And they're asking social media companies to come down harder on what they're calling super spreaders on their platforms. Press Secretary Jen Psaki says the administration increased disinformation research and tracking within the Surgeon General's office and is flagging Facebook for posts that spread disinformation. At the same time, they're ramping up their own campaign of influencers to spread facts about the vaccine, like pop star Olivia Rodrigo, who was at the White House yesterday.
There's about 12 people who are producing 65% of anti-vaccine misinformation on social media platforms. All of them remain active on Facebook, and Facebook needs to move more quickly to remove harmful, violative posts. Posts that will be within their policies for removal often remain up for days.
Now, conservatives are calling this policing of free speech, raising First Amendment concerns about what they're calling collusion between the state and corporations that have monopolized the flow of information.
Monopoly companies acting in concert with the government to say you can say this, you can't say that, we're going to decide. That is just antithetical to the First Amendment of the United States. It's antithetical to free and open debate.
Surgeon General Vivek Murthy says this is an urgent public health threat, that misinformation is keeping people from getting vaccinated. And just as there's a Surgeon General's warning on cigarettes that tobacco kills, social media containing misinformation is also deadly.
We must confront misinformation as a nation. Every one of us has the power and the responsibility to make a difference in this fight. Lives are dependent on it.
Murthy said that polls have shown that 2/3 of people who are not getting the vaccine believe some or all common myths about it. Steve, Ainsley, and Lawrence.
Hey, Jackie, do we know who, if the White House is flagging problematic disinformation, do we know who in the White House or who in the federal government is actually looking at people's Facebook accounts?
Well, I'm not certain that that is what's happening. From my understanding, they have asked social media companies to tweak their algorithms to better root out bad actors on their platforms. They're just asking these companies to ramp up their tracing and enforcement. As you saw in the past, they have flagged posts that they see as inaccurate, and they're asking, the White House is asking these social media companies to be vigilant about that because it's impacting people getting vaccinated as the Delta variant and spreads and coronavirus concerns increase.
All right, Jackie Heinrich, we thank you very much. I heard this morning there's now something called the Delta Plus. It's the Delta variant, but it's something else, just a little more virulent.
Guys, can I thread the needle, if y'all don't mind, between the Cuba story and what's happening here in the U.S.? You know, we see freedom being suppressed right there in Cuba. I think we tend to forget, because we have so much freedom here, that it starts somewhere. That we got to nip it in the bud when we see this. And when you have administration, when you have activists on the street that are saying, we're doing this for your good, we're doing this for the greater good, we're censoring information because we know the facts, we understand what is fact and what is fiction. This is how Cuba got to this point, with the aspiration of that government was best deciding what is right, what is wrong, who should live and who should die, who should have this amount of money, who should eat, who should not eat. And I just think when we see this in our country, we got to nip in the bud immediately.
Yeah, well, we saw them do this with the lab leak theory. You weren't allowed, when Donald Trump said that, yeah, there's this lab leak, we think it started in the lab, and then they said you're not allowed to talk about that. If you do, we're censoring you, we're shutting you down. Then Joe Biden says that it could be a lab leak, and then all of a sudden you're able to write about it on social media. We're seeing that with Dr. Fauci, who's the top doctor who's making all these decisions for you and your family. Yet then we find out he works for a company that's giving money to that lab for gain-of-function research. And then that's why that might have been one of the reasons he didn't want the lab leak theory out there. And he was praised for that by the researchers there in the lab for not putting that theory out there. So with the flip-flopping and the going back and forth and censoring all this stuff, I understand why some people are afraid to get the vaccine because they feel like they can't trust the government. This goes against they're trying to send the message that you need the vaccine. Well, this is one of the reasons why people are scared to get it, because you keep flip-flopping federal government. So why should we trust you?
And who in the federal government or who is deciding that they should take down what you said?
Correct.
Because it's very
Is that fascism?
subjective.
The merger of state and corporation?
It's when they collude together that suddenly Big Brother and Big Tech are on the same page, and that is terrifying.
And just to put a button on this, those social media companies, when they got these theories wrong and they were flagging people's posts, they didn't correct the record. They just go by like
Right.
things are
They act
normal.
like it never happened.
That's why you shouldn't get involved, because you don't know.
Speaking of getting involved, there are